Hey, you're on the Bible Forum. I'm Warren Sprouse. It's April 22nd, 2018, and we're talking here tonight. It's Sunday night between 8 and 10 p.m. Eastern. We do this live. You're probably watching some other time. And I want to talk to you a little bit about what Glenn Beck was talking, because tell you kind of some of the things he was talking about a little while ago. Glenn turned back time in order to take a look at the Democrat and the Republican parties to see what they stood for over the last 2 centuries. He says, is there any truth to the accusation that today's liberals are throwing at the GOP? Then he gives some highlights, a timeline. In 1792, Thomas Jefferson and James Madison founded the Democrat/Republican Party. Yeah, they were together. A party founded on the libertarian principle of limited government. They've come a long way, baby. The first official Democrat Party president was Andrew Jackson. He took office in 1829. In 1830, President Jackson signed the Indian Removal Act into law. Under this act, Native American tribes living east of the Mississippi were rounded up and marched to camps on the other side of the river. In the 1830s, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled in favor of the Cherokee Nation in a suit they filed against Georgia. The ruling said the Cherokee Nation could not be forcibly removed from their homes. Well, that put Jackson in a bad spot. He didn't know what to do. Yes, he did. He overruled the decision, and the Cherokee people were rounded up at gunpoint and forced out of Georgia. 1 in 4 Cherokees died during the journey, which became known as the Trail of Tears. Democrat. In the 1840s, the Democrat Party adopted the doctrine of manifest destiny. We learned stuff like this in school. We didn't learn it was the Democrat Party. Here's the idea that white Americans were divinely entitled to dominate the North American continent. In 1854, a new anti-slave political party was formed to secure equal rights for black Americans. They named it the Republican Party. They did that because its founders wanted to return to the principles of freedom and equality that are set forth in the governing documents of this republic. In 1856, the first Republican presidential candidate ran on a platform that included only 9 planks, 6 of which were for black equality and equal rights for African Americans. That same year, the Democrat platform strongly defended slavery, stating that an abolitionist effort threatened to, quote, diminish the happiness of the people. Yeah, if they ever get out of slavery, they won't be happy anymore. Oh, the Democrats won that election. In 1856, founding Republican Party member Senator Charles Sumner gave a speech in the U.S. Senate against slavery. Angered by Sumner's message, Democrat House Republican Preston Brooks of South Carolina crossed the rotunda to the Capitol and in front of the entire Senate literally clubbed Sumner almost to death. It is unthinkable that a Democrat assailant or a Republican assailant could do such a thing and was never charged. What he did was attempted murder. 1857, Democrat-controlled Supreme Court approved the Dred Scott decision. This decision declared that black Americans were not persons of property, and therefore they had no rights. In 1860, Republican presidential candidate Abraham Lincoln ran on a platform that blasted the Dred Scott decision, opposed the fugitive slave law, and announced an intention to end slavery. Lincoln received only 40% of the popular vote, but he won the presidency with a 57% majority in the Electoral College. In 1861, the Confederate flag was created by the Democrat Party. In 1866, a Republican-controlled Congress enacted the 13th Amendment to constitutionally ban slavery in the United States. In the 1860s, the Ku Klux Klan was started by Democrats to murder Republicans, black or white. You remember West Virginia Democrat senator? Can't remember his name. Oh, he was senior in the Senate. Everybody loved him. He was the head of the Ku Klux Klan in West Virginia. In the 1860s, in 1871, Republican State Senator Dr. John Winsmith was shot 7 times by the Klan because he was fighting for the rights of blacks in his state. Dr. Winsmith survived the shooting and testified before Congress about the attack. In 1912, the godfather of radical progressivism, Woodrow Wilson, was elected president. 1913, Democrat Wilson established the first ever progressive income tax, which led to the need for the IRS and the Federal Reserve. He pushed for bigger government and made the presidency superior to Congress. In 1915, a film called The Birth of a Nation glorified the Ku Klux Klan. A great admirer of the film, Wilson said, "The white men were roused by a mere instinct of self-preservation until at last there had sprung into existence a great Ku Klux Klan, a veritable empire of the South to protect the Southern country." In 1917, 1918, Wilson passed the Espionage and Sedition Acts, which prohibited criticism of the government, armed forces, or the war effort. That after promising to keep America out of World War I during his re-election campaign. 1,500 people were arrested, fined, or imprisoned under these laws. In 1917, after announcing that all German Americans were alien enemies, Wilson forced thousands of German Americans into 2 internment camps in America. In conclusion, Glenn Beck offered this perspective. He says, during the past 200 years, Democrats have simply shifted their actions from overt racism to covert racism. The tactics they use to control minorities in America have just changed. They shifted from actual slavery on the cotton plantations to making sure that blacks remain on the plantation of government assistance, ever dependent on their Democrat overseers. Republicans, on the other hand, as a general rule, have always fought for the rights of self-determination for minorities, for any minority. They tend not to promise that the government will take care of you. Instead, the GOP, if true to its non-progressive roots, has a philosophy that allows people to have the opportunity to take care of themselves. The opportunity to chart their own course, to make their own destiny, to thrive, rather than just survive. And the Democrats today have positioned themselves as the keepers of the flame of liberty, the ferocious fighters in defense of the underdog. But history can be nasty. If you look at the facts of history, nothing can be farther from the truth.